Okay, I will call to order the Monday, November 10th, 2025 Town of Dudley Government Study Committee. First order is to rise and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Number 2 is public business. Today, we wanted to vote to appoint a clerk to replace our resignation, who was the clerk. There could be 6 of us here, and there are only 4. Maybe we should pass this over until the next time for more attendance? Or should we do it?
I have no issue holding off.
Okay.
Until we have a full board. I don't know what everybody else has.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay. Do we have to vote to pass over, or is that simple enough?
If it's unanimously agreed upon, no.
Is it unanimous?
It's unanimous.
Okay. Maybe the same for B. I mean, the vacancies are kind of why we're low on attendance, but the other 2, I mean, should more than likely be here, at least one of them next time. So maybe we could pass over number 2.
I agree.
I think both of those are good agenda items for our next meeting, though.
Okay, unanimous?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Items 2C, review of assigned research topics. So a bunch of us, we all signed up for different research topics, and since the vacancies have occurred, we might have 1 or 2 topics that are unassigned, so we wanted to go over that tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't have this notebook with me at the last meeting, but I was able to compile the original 10 research topics that were selected, which person was assigned to them, and then in the case of Cheryl and Robin, they're now vacated topics. So I listed it out. Anything I marked with V stands for vacant, and that would be topics 3, 4, 8, and 9. And I know Hannah had discussed at the last meeting that topic number 9 sort of goes together with her topic number 10. So I wanted to offer that as an option to the board, that we combine 9 and 10 and give that to Hannah, who is not here tonight.
Yeah.
But the other open topics would be 3, 4, and 8.
Okay. I would be willing to take number 3 along with number 5, which I already had. If no one else objects.
I have no issue.
Okay, I'll take 3.
Okay. I don't believe, Mr. Chairman, that Rick LaFond had selected a topic. So maybe at his next meeting, he can choose one of the vacant topics if he's interested.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. 3,
So 4 and 8 would be.
4.
4 and 8, yes.
Well, wait a minute, 4.
4 was
Oh.
Robin.
It was presented by Robin already.
She presented a framework
Framework,
for how
okay.
that research should continue, but she didn't present the full findings. She started someone off, but
Mm-hmm.
I can take a swing at 8.
So do you want Rick to pick up on 4 then?
Given his expertise, that might not be a bad one. We can ask for his help. He sent us an email today regretting that he couldn't make it. Tonight's a Board of Selectmen's meeting in Webster, so obviously he had to attend that.
Yeah, right.
But he did offer to do some research on certain topics, which I think we could construe that email to be somewhat number 4. How's that sound?
if that's the board's pleasure, we can sign him up for number 4.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, fine. All right, wonderful. I mean, I do need to speak with you, Olivia, about my topic. I'm hoping maybe we could do that sometime before the next meeting.
Sure.
And if we can do that, I will be prepared to present at our next meeting.
Okay.
So I can do that for, what date is that, the 24th?
24th.
Yeah.
Yes, and speaking of that, Mr. Chairman, I've been coordinating with highway commissioners and water sewer commissioners, and we're very likely going to have a DPW discussion on the 24th.
Okay,
I'm just making sure that everybody's available. But it's looking good.
okay, good.
I'll be here.
Okay, are we good on C? I think we are. Item D, review of member research. Rich Matthew, you're up.
All right, thank you. So I had chosen number 7, roles, responsibilities, and job descriptions. And I said, why should we let a good format of a PDF go to waste? So I recycled one. So these are the key considerations to review for number 7. The task is there a need to update or clarify job descriptions and the roles and responsibilities of specific boards and committees? I took a look at the review of the recent studies from outside organizations, reviewed official job descriptions, collective bargaining and other personnel contracts, and reviewed reporting structures. The primary studies reviewed were the Edward J. Collins Center for Public Management and the Human Resource Study done in September of 2022. The D.I. Jacobs Consulting Company study done in June of 2021. And the DLS Fiscal Management Review done in December of 2024. To address staff concerns, the Town of Dudley received 2 Community Compact Cabinet grants. The town engaged D.I. Jacobs to review employee compensation with the first grant. Some of those recommendations were enacted by town meeting through updated personnel bylaws in fiscal 2020. With the second grant, the town hired the Collins Center to conduct a human resource HR study. As a result, employee handbook was updated, personnel policies were adopted, and assistant town manager HR position was created for the town. The DLS study provided the town with a financial management review presented in December of 2024. Included in the list of 16 recommendations was to change the elected treasurer-collector position to an appointed position. This was the sole item assigned to the Dudley Government Study Committee by the Board of Selectmen in its official response to the study. So they're taking a look, obviously, at and assigned out all of the other topics in that from that study. And this, because it relates so heavily to style of government, structure of government, was referred to us for further review and study. The current status, the job descriptions have varying dates of last review, ranging from 2020 to 2025. To me, this indicates that these documents are viewed by the town administration as living documents and subject to periodical review, or periodic review, and that makes sense. I'm going to guess, but we'll ask later, that reviews likely occur when positions are vacant and about to be posted. Compensation inequities have not been publicly raised as a major concern since these recent changes based on the 2 studies. So I think that's a good positive step for the town. What prompted this was some concerns about people doing similar roles, getting different pay rates, and all of those things that go with the unstructured, looser format that used to exist for a lot of communities that has changed over the past 20 to 30 to 40 years in municipal government. There were citizens petitions brought forward at the fall 2024 special town meeting to revert some changes that were back to the way they were before they were approved for changes in 2020. Specifically, voters supported reversing votes from various town meetings from FY20 forward around bylaw changes related to governance. Some portions of these citizens' petitions were deemed illegal by the Attorney General. The key considerations as I looked at all of this were, are the job description updates regularly scheduled, or do they occur only when necessary? And that's an open-ended question. Feel free to jump in if there's a response, or...
All right, my response would be, it's typically only updated when there's a vacancy in the position, or if somebody's job roles and responsibilities have changed so significantly that they warrant a current change to their job description. So even if they're not vacating the position and say their job has shifted quite a bit, we would go ahead and make those changes to the job description to better reflect that, especially when it comes time to performance reviews. You want to make sure that your job description, as closely as possible, matches the responsibilities you're doing.
And is that based on an employee request, upon administration review of potential changes, departments bringing things forward?
It could be either. It could be the employee believing that their job description no longer matches their duties, or it could be the department head who has seen how the job changes and requests that review as well.
Thank you. The next consideration would be, how does the town ensure pay rates remain competitive? You know, these studies are great, and it draws you up to a new baseline, but unless you maintain that baseline, unless you're continuously, you know, researching information, there's a chance over the course of 5, 10, 15 years that things will get back out of whack and require another study. So, again, if you want to comment on it, great. If not,
Sure. At this point, the majority of town employees are in some form of a union. So we have our highway, water, sewer union, police, fire, and now our town hall clerical staff and library aides. And I think everybody at the library, except for the library director, they're all in a sort of town hall clerical unit. And so those unions, when it comes time for their contract negotiations, which is about every 3 years or so, they do a lot of the research, and the town does as well, to look at comparable communities and the pay rates for those comparable positions to make sure that the town is remaining as competitive as budgetarily possible when it comes to funding those positions.
and what do you do for management positions, like the library director?
Right, so those would be non-union positions. That would be research. I'll use the library director as like a vague example. So that would be like the town administrator maybe researching neighboring communities, seeing what they're posting their library directors at, asking for salary information, because it's public record. And it could be, on the flip side of the coin, the library director going around and doing her same research. So when it comes time for her contract to be negotiated, she comes prepared with that knowledge. So in a management position like that, it's both sides doing the research.
I have noticed that since the COVID era, there were people who possibly may have been hired early in the COVID period who were still hired using an old metric, let's say. And over COVID, the time of COVID, some salaries have kind of raised. For example, starting salaries for young people coming out of college, I think, in some cases are $10,000 or $15,000 more than they were had they graduated 2 or 3 years earlier. Do you see that as being a problem at the town, where people you're hiring now are being hired at higher rates maybe than they were 3, 4, or 5 years ago?
Well, I think Mr. Matthew did that research on when exactly the Don Jacobs study was completed, but that was
about that time.
That was about that time,
Okay.
because he laid out a very specific sort of pay hiring range scale, and depending on the grade, what that position should fall into. So we do our best to match the experience of the candidate with the existing pay scale and comparing it to the experience that other employees on that pay scale have.
Okay.
So, for example, would I hire in a recent college graduate to a grade 3 position and pay that person $30 an hour? No, because that's the top of a grade 3 scale, and that person fresh out of college would not likely have
Sure.
that level of experience. So the pay scale does sort of help set the standard for that, and it can help kind of correct some inequities that have occurred in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say, again, I think it's great that the town, received these grants and did this research, because it really does set a nice, clean baseline. Again, municipalities have varying degrees of officialness, and I think it kind of is a sliding bar as you start in the east and go to the west. And obviously depending on size of the government and size of the community and all of that, some places still have only part-time staff, part-time town hall hours and those sorts of things. But I think Dudley's very well positioned in what it's done and what it's created in these areas, and the key is to maintain going forward. I don't know if maybe there's a regional organization that you could, maybe tap into. I know with MASBO, there are a couple of Google Sheets that, people have created over the years that list the common positions, IT director, transportation coordinator, all of those sorts of things. And salaries are able to be shared between, a couple hundred communities. And that's good, valuable information. But again, when it gets stale, it's been 5 years since this particular spreadsheet's been updated. You get the call, people go in, update it, and then, So again, this is, I think, a great base to start with. It's just a question of best maintenance going forward. Another key consideration is, should the DLS recommendation of changing elected officials to be appointed be brought forward to voters again? Has the thinking around this changed since 2020, which was the last time it was brought up and defeated at town meeting? More considerations, the DLS report item number 3 regarding the recommendation to create a government study committee says that Dudley's decentralized structure does not provide essential coordination and communication effectiveness and efficiencies. Does the current organizational structure create an operational issue from a citizen's perspective, from a staff perspective? I think those are key questions that we'll perhaps talk about later tonight or at some other point in this process. Another consideration is, what caused the citizens to reverse course from recent changes and introduce their petitions in the fall of 2024? So again, from what I could see and what I gathered, I think we need to survey the citizens of our town for their attitude towards potential changes in governance. I think we need to survey staff to get their perspective on potential changes in governance and what impact that might have on their day-to-day work. And I think we need to meet with the citizens who brought forward the citizens petition in fall of 2024 to understand their perspective in trying to revert to previous governance structures. And that would be all I have for this evening.
Any comments?
I just, based on, the roles and responsibilities and job descriptions seem to be very well in place in the town. If I understand and it again just kind of comes back to, really, are the citizens feel represented at the government level, is what I'm kind of gathering, and what you.
Yeah, I think, again, getting feedback from citizens about, the way that this current model works for them, I think is incredibly important. I think getting feedback from staff to understand from their perspective if the current model works for them. Just because something looks good on paper and all the I's are dotted and T's crossed,
Right.
It doesn't mean it's necessarily working. It just means it should work, but there's there's something that's causing it not to work.
Right. No, that's good. It's
Yeah.
good to, get your input on your research on the roles, responsibilities, and job descriptions and the progress that the town has made. And seems to be on the right track in the administration part of the town in that respect. So that's good. It's good to hear.
Yeah, I think there are still, again, larger open questions about, governance, combined DPW versus highway department, water sewer, all of those sorts of things. But I think the infrastructure, the base is there, and really I think from the bottom up,
Right.
3/4 of the way up, you're probably
Right.
in very good shape. I think the town is in very good shape.
In those discussions about how the different departments function, and, it's easy to create the squares on the org chart, but it's the gaps in between the squares that we have yet to learn. And, to see if the departments do function effectively and efficiently. And that's the next stage of the meetings, I think, are gonna fill in those gaps more than what we know today, but, the pieces are there, right?
I really like the idea of bringing in the petitioners from, what was it, 2020?
2024, actually.
24, okay. Get their thinking, get their ideas.
Mhm.
We don't know. We don't know what they're thinking.
Right, and,
We
the
know it's
fact.
on paper.
The fact that a group of citizens voted one way 5 years ago, a different or potentially the same group of citizens had afterthoughts about those particular votes, significant enough to bring forward citizens petitions in fall of 2024. What happened, was it simply COVID? What was the impetus for that? Because they were looking to make some rather significant governance changes in those citizens petitions, I think.
I think that'll be important to ask and see if we can have them in.
So one question I have is, Olivia, your role, are you the HR person as well?
Yes.
Okay. So, you look at, you need a stable government, and you need, and so it sounds to me like from a financial standpoint to have, you want people to come and stay, and you want good people to come and stay. So you got the pay, sounds like the pay is resolved, and then if there's grievances, you have an HR person that people can go to grief, right? To bring their issues. So there's some good elements of a good, again, it's another point of the administrative system in the town to create a working government to keep, the employees, get the right employees, pay them the right amount of money, and have good systems that people that have issues have a place to go to, to raise the issue up. Beyond just the union, right? The union gives tools as well for them to, bring their grievances, but there is a resource in town for them to do as well. So, no, it's all good stuff, as far as I can see.
You're describing a healthy workplace,
I'm describing a healthy workplace, right?
which people want to be at.
Which people want to be at,
Right,
right?
right.
You want to have people come, work for government, they're happy here, they're productive, they can grow, there's career opportunity, and they can positively impact the government, the town. If you have a good workforce
Right.
that's representing and trying to make the town be efficient. If you don't have that, we can be putting Band-Aids on the rest of the system, the governing system, but if you don't have good people to operate it, you don't have anything.
It'll fall apart. Right?
It's a waste of our time,
Mhm.
right? So I think the foundation is there to really, if we have to improve the governance of the town, you've got a good making of a good team and good systems already
Absolutely.
to execute the governance system that's, if it's changed or implemented or whatever we decide. But like I said, if you don't have that, we're wasting our time, right?
Right.
So, good, no, it's,
The inviting the people, the petitioners from the fiscal 20 to the 24 issue, is that related to the personnel board?
Yeah, that was the petitions that they brought forward that the AG had indicated, not all pieces were.
Or the audit, was it the audit committee?
Both.
Both the personnel and the audit? Okay. We know who initiated those petitions, right? Okay.
So I think perhaps after or at our next meeting, and we can maybe talk about this a little further on the agenda if it's more appropriate, but I think we need to perhaps put together a little more defined schedule in reviewing some of the materials, and even with what Olivia handed out today. We have a draft report due to the Board of Selectmen for February 1, 2026. That date does not seem all that far away. And we have an update due to the Board of Selectmen for sometime in December. I think part of that update may be a request for a little more time to
Extension.
do our work, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So, you know, at the 11/24 meeting, when we have DPW representatives in, maybe we can put some specific topics of what the agendas will be, you know, for at least the next couple, so that we can start to, you know, okay, in December, we want to tackle this, in January,
That's a
we
great
want to
idea.
tackle this.
Yep, definitely, definitely. All right, any more questions for Rich? No, that's great. Okay, moving on to item E, the survey format and questions. So Olivia, I think there's an Excel file with a bunch of questions or things we want to pursue on the survey.
Yes, give me a moment to pull that up.
Have we decided on how to reach out to the public for these questions? I know we've talked about, you know, either social media.
Right.
It's town website, you know, whatever the, I don't know what the best methodology would be for this.
We have the announcement system, right?
Yeah, the rave.
Yeah,
Right.
that was subscribers to that.
How many subscribers do you recall?
Off the top of my
Two,
head,
2 or 3,000?
I don't know.
I
It's
thought
probably
it
about
was in the
right.
4,000, right? When
Was it
Debbie
okay?
went there, I thought, I recall a 4 in the
Okay.
front, right?
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
So you do hit a substantial number
Right.
of persons.
right.
Well, one thing that struck me when I was updating this, there's a great list. But we haven't gone over all the topics yet, so are we gonna do more than one survey? Because I think the survey questions are related to the 10 topics, right?
Mhm.
So if we haven't done 4 of them, are we gonna do another survey? I mean, I put my questions on there, so one of the unpresented topics is in this list. But we won't have anything on operational efficiency, training,
Well,
or governance model.
if I, you know, in the way I look at it, I guess this was an opportune time to get the questions asked, right? So I think that way outweighs, you know, the benefit of that, trying to take advantage of the timing versus waiting. My vote would be to, you know, even though we haven't done the topic, we should put a question in
Okay.
on the survey. That's my opinion, but.
Yes.
And from my perspective, you know, I think this round, I think, yes, it's inevitable that we're gonna end up doing multiple surveys.
Okay.
I think this round of surveys is really a high level of getting a feel for where the citizens are at with these particular topics. You know, not necessarily a granular approach to asking every conceivable question that we might have and want to get information back on, but at least a couple of large things, you know. Should we pursue a charter? You know, we haven't presented a fact for doing it or not doing it. But whether we have done that or not, citizens, I think, are gonna have an innate, you know, thought process about it, because it's not something that has never been discussed in town. And, you know, it's a common thing in many communities. So if we know that, 90% of the respondents say, no, they have no desire for a charter, well, I think that will probably influence our thinking and say, okay, so if there are changes we want to make, we probably want to stick with special legislation and bylaw changes, not necessarily go down the lane of a charter. So big guiding questions, I think, are appropriate in this timeframe to utilize, the interests that Deb LaPlaca had indicated, would be on these, the goings-on around town, in the next few weeks.
I think Rich is spot on with, if we don't wanna inundate with a whole menu of different, questions. I think we should narrow it down to a handful, otherwise people are gonna lose interest and they're not gonna take it. So if we can maybe do, a handful of questions based upon what Rich is thinking, that, what are the big menu items here?
Mhm.
And then that may steer towards the next round of questions, and, within, 2 or 3 rounds, we may have all of our answers or something.
Okay. I think that sounds fine. Should we go over the questions?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, so there's,
You're probably gonna have to.
yeah, so my tablet doesn't always love zooming in, so we're gonna hope
Okay,
that
well, that's way better than it was.
we're trying.
One question on our compiled questions: do we intend on asking everything that we have for thoughts, or do we want to kind of cherry pick?
Well, I think we go high level.
High level, right?
Pick the
So-
high level ones.
Right, and so maybe we can decipher through these questions which ones are at that higher level, because I don't know, I don't even know how many there were, there's at least 20 or 30.
Yes.
36.
36, okay. Yeah, maybe we do pick the top 6 or 7.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes, sir.
Good evening, Rich Carmignani. Can I offer a suggestion? And I think you started with it. It's sort of, you have some great resources to pull potential respondents, and you sort of make your funnel going down like this. We see you've signed up. Would you be interested in taking a survey about local government? And you're sort of, if they're interested, if they're not interested, please thank them for their time, but how well do you know what goes on? And you're sort of bringing it down so that out of 3,000 potential respondents, you get 1,000 who'd be willing to take it. Then it's that's the group that you'd like to focus in on, as opposed to somebody who comes into the town hall answering, a little paper piece, and they're only at the town hall once a year, and it's to complain because the town clerk gave them a late dog fine. You know what I mean? So I think your approach of having sort of that broad, who would be interested in helping, it's a few minutes of your time. Of course, you're doing it on and off political year, so I don't know how much engagement you'd get, but it's just that idea of you cast a wide net, you should be able to get your 10 or 20%. At least that's my knowledge, that's my thought, because if you started off with a specific question about, where does the personnel board fit in the town of Dudley, and should it be continued, somebody'd go, you mean John Marcy, the state rep? I let him put a sign on my, you know what I mean, sort of making sure those who are responding are educated. But
Okay,
my thought.
thank you. Okay. So, should we go down the list?
Yeah, let's find the big picture.
Okay, I guess I need to know what, so these are open-ended, or Hannah has provided open-ended questions with lots of different available responses. Would we put a multiple choice next to this? Can we fine tune it? I don't even know if we have the time to do that,
Right.
because
Well, if
I don't even know if people know what it, like, I don't even know if I could answer, what news resource do I use to receive my general news? And I go to telegram.com or something, right? I mean, but everyone might answer that differently.
if I look at this, at the end of the day, it's, you're asking the person, do you feel that the town is communicating effectively to you? If you look at this from a big picture standpoint, how does that person feel like they're getting the information needed from the town? Is that a way of that would be one way of looking at all of these questions in a high level to get an answer? Or do you dig deeper and?
In the context that we want a high-level survey today with the hope of a more detailed one in the future, I think that's the right way to go.
Okay, would you like me to add that question in?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
as a higher,
'Cause
you know,
no
I mean,
one- No one did that question already, right?
not I don't know
No.
if anybody else.
I think I might have a vague, wait till
I
I
think-
get,
I think-
but if
type
I-
it now.
But if I look at these, what she's asking,
I
is kind
agree.
of trying to get to that point,
And I
right?
think number 4 is probably the most defined type of question regarding what your thinking is. You know, what are the resources that the citizens want to see the community use to communicate their message?
It speaks to an
yeah.
informed.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
It speaks to an informed population who can make informed decisions about what we're talking about. You know, that information. And from some reading that I've been doing, there's a great lack of local news reporting across the country, really. A lot of small-town newspapers have just disintegrated and disappeared. And whether or not the ones that are left are doing a good job is very debatable,
I agree.
you know?
I have
So-
an
so it-
example, but I won't bring it up.
Well, it's tough for the average person to hear like a true, accurate story. So that's just my opinion. But
Okay. Do we have official wording for that question then?
Well, we were referencing 4, so,
How about,
at the end of the day, we're trying to get to the point of, do you feel like information is effectively communicated to you about local government,
yes.
right? Something,
Something to the fact of how would you prefer
but we're
the
again.
government communicate with you?
Well,
Right, or,
Yes.
well,
yeah.
Why don't we
What kind
stick
of-
with, do they feel, at a high
Yeah.
level, do you feel you are informed?
By the activities of local
By
government.
current activities, right.
Current activities. Help us, Olivia.
Something like that?
Do you feel it is effectively communicated to you about local government in the town of Dudley News? Perfect.
Let's leave it at that.
Let's leave it at
That-
that.
And that's a yes
Yeah.
or no question.
Yes.
All right, and I'll mark it in this column with an X if we're putting it on this first round of survey.
Yep.
Sure,
Yep.
okay.
Scroll to the next block here.
Okay. So what's the high level of all of this? How effective do you feel the local government is? I'm sure you can wordsmith it. Yeah, you can strike 13, that's not, we don't need to get into that right now.
But don't delete it.
Oh, don't delete it, but I
Yeah.
mean, as far as this survey, let's
Yeah.
let's put it on the back.
That might be good for a second round.
Okay, I didn't realize how many questions Brian had. I was gonna scroll through his like next
Well, I'm
couple.
full of them. I have
Got
no
quite a
answers, but
few.
boy, I got questions.
You have to turn the screen vertically now.
Should residents have the right to initiate, recall, or referendum? All right, so we can't, we're not getting into the granular here, so,
Okay, this is all related to number 2, adoption of a town charter or alternative governance
Yes.
tools.
yes.
You know, the question from the references given to us are, should the town pursue the development and adoption of an official town charter?
Yeah, so here's
A series of
your
tar-
question, maybe we should just come right out and ask that as a question about, you know,
Yeah, so
Do
I
you
think that's
feel our
question number
town
25.
is,
And to Rich's point earlier.
There you go.
right.
But
Yeah,
Rich's
yeah.
point earlier was that we need to feel what the pulse is on this from the citizens.
Mhm.
If we have responses saying no, and it's overwhelming, then we look at special legislation for independent acts instead of going
Bylaws,
across.
Right.
Yes.
Because it says, should we pursue a town charter, a series of targeted bylaw changes, or a combination? So if the answer is no to a charter, we know that the answer has to be the other thing.
Yes.
So there you
That's the
go.
question, is,
Bingo.
should we pursue the creation of a charter for the town of Dudley?
Rich created that question, number 25.
All right, thank you,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you,
Yep,
Rich.
good.
So, and 26 relates to that. Not only do we want to know what they want, but we want to know how important it is to them. If people say, yeah, I want it, but I really don't care about it, that's one thing. You know, but if people say, I want it and I really care about it, that's another. So I think having some sort of rating scale, I had suggested 1 to 10 here, is an important, so not just a yes, no, but yes, no, and, you know, passion, you know, your level of passion, I guess, for it. Give that up, right?
I think it's actually gonna be Hannah that's driving the Survey Monkey bus. I
Okay,
Okay.
guess.
Our Hannah.
Yes, our Hannah, yep. She said she has experience with Survey Monkey. She sent me a few options via email earlier this week, and it looks like Survey Monkey would be the best bet.
So you can do like yes or no, or these little bubble things, like the 1 to 10, you can just click it.
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
Yes, no, multiple choice, drop-down menu, fill in the blank,
Okay.
1 through 10.
Is there a cost?
Yes,
We're able to cover the cost?
yes.
Okay.
It's minimal enough that as long as we're not, you know, dragging this process out for 3 years or sending out 500 surveys.
Is it by survey or by respondent?
I'd have to double check. It looks like it's a monthly charge.
Oh, okay.
And they have different tiers of plans.
there's different
1,000
tiers.
responses, 10,000 responses.
Right.
Okay.
I think we'll be well under I don't know if we'll get 1,000.
We can be optimistic.
But we can be optimistic. Okay, all right, so now,
Do you want me to go back to Brian's questions, or are we gonna keep going down the list?
well, did Rich's question actually answer Brian's
yeah,
topic?
yeah, I think, well, let's see how many we get. If we have to go back and start looking for some high-level themes, I'm sure we can.
Yeah, but Rich was an overachiever here with the questions.
Well, I mean, I'm surrounded by overachievers, what can I say? Yeah.
Rich, is there some other question in your area where that might be closer to the you know, what you've discussed today?
No, I think, you know, looking at that information, it was important and valid, but in terms of a broad overview, you know, taking the pulse, if you will, of the public, that was the most important question I think I had provided for this
Okay.
first survey.
Okay. All right, Paul,
Yeah, I like 29.
how about 29?
Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah. It's concise, and again, it's a yes or no question.
And I think it gets to some of the topics we've discussed about, you know,
30, we may wanna just hold until we meet with, people from water, sewer, highway. It may give us a better idea of whether or not we wanna present a question such as, 30, or just completely scrap it.
We can always include it in the round two. Mine are all related to item number 5, which is elected versus appointed positions. These are all related to points that work into the argument for or against either. Number 36 is the one that I had written that kind of speaks to the local media. So just to steal my thunder a little bit for my presentation next week, I guess the argument is that, you know, when does the political election, you know, when is the political election more important than the expertise of a position? For example, not to pick on our current meeting attendee, but let's pick on the town accountant. If the town accountant position was an elected position, would the elected person know about GAAP and GASB and municipal accounting and all these things? Well, maybe not. And what would happen, right? So it's weighing the expertise versus the political aspect. Yes, sir.
I was just going to make the one comment that the two full-time elected officials are the ones who are holding offices open tonight. So that's always been my, I look at it a little differently. Clearly, my perspective is not the same as anybody else in this building. It was, I'm the one that needs to be on his toes to make sure that, and it's been said before, you know, this is your stress test. Go through and do a good job, and your future will be assured, as opposed to you're focusing on the nightmare scenario where the biggest New England Patriots fan gets elected in place of, like you had used for the generic, the accountant. And clearly popularity and not qualifications are there. I'm the step beyond it, saying the framework for all of the offices need to be solid enough. So one of your 5 selectmen is going to be up, or 2 of the 5 selectmen would be up every year, and their input helps with the governance of the town, because your assistant town administrator is right here, your town administrator is in place, there's an admin specifically for it, and you're sort of adding to that existing framework, as opposed to one person loses an election and it instantly becomes a bungle. If for some reason I take a left out of here tonight, get hit by a random automobile, the 2 people who are in my office plus the part-timer will keep this office open with enough knowledge. The whole idea is, the elected position is, love them or hate them, somebody not doing their job would be replaced. And that's the assurance that if the wrong person goes into the job, and you could say that for almost all of them. Think of a highway superintendent getting hired and clearly is not the right person. There's a mechanism for the change and oversight. But I've also made it a point to be at all of these meetings, because I think it's important for what that's worth.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Number 35. Or 32. Those 2 might most closely encapsulate my research. So far.
This is a tough one for me.
For myself, I'd go with 35.
I'm leaning towards that.
Yeah. day, you're asking the question, you know, does the elected process put the best person in a position?
Right.
That is the question. So asking that question, does it answer that question?
We can, I mean, we can reword it too. I mean, does it,
Right.
part of that not make sense?
No, do you agree that voters use the other to effectively monitor? Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let's use that one.
Yeah.
Rich?
Yes.
I don't know if it would be appropriate, but when we're done with our list of 4 or 5 questions, would it be possible for Mrs. LaPlaca to maybe take a look at them and wordsmith them a little bit? She has, I think, a lot of experience in public outreach, and she might be able to, understanding where we're heading, better define the questions.
Okay.
And before they're published, maybe a quick email could be sent with, you know, these are the suggested changes or modifications, if that's appropriate.
I can certainly email her and see if she has time to take a look at them.
That gives us how many questions now?
I think that's 4.
4?
My original thought was to keep this to 5 or fewer.
Yes, I agree.
Again, simply because it's first pass, and we should try to make that clear in some sort of preamble that we can, you know, not necessarily address tonight, but.
It would be 4 questions if you count this sort of, should the town consider adoption of a town charter, and then ranking it 1 to 10 if you consider that as 1 question.
4 with that is 1 question.
4 with that as 1 question,
Okay.
yes.
You have 5 X's, in other words.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so one more?
Did we miss anything? Do we have?
Is there another bank of questions that we didn't?
No,
that was
that's it.
Okay.
Maybe the 5th one should be, would you like to join the Government Study Committee?
Yeah.
We prefer to promote response, not hinder.
I mean, you could ask the question about the government, if you scroll down, Rich had it on his about, do you have strong feelings? No, a little bit further down, I think. Do you believe changes to the current employment should be proposed? Somebody doesn't quite, okay, so they say no on the charter, but do they propose some other changes to the government?
Right, charter, the charter question directs us which lane to go down.
Mhm.
This tells us whether we should go down it at all or not.
That's actually a good question to help fine tune where we're going. Technically, maybe a round 2 question,
If yes.
but it might be
is
helpful
the
to know
board-
that.
But if you put that on the list and you send it to Deb,
Yeah.
she could probably, then she gets the sense, maybe she can
Right.
craft it to such a way that makes it, you know,
Yeah.
sound appropriate.
Adding 27 and 28 would be good, in my opinion.
And again, the intention is 1 question.
It's 1 question.
With those sub-questions.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not looking to overwhelm the respondents, this is certainly a nice base. And we can get a good feel for where to go with some of with any answers back. How long will we wait for responses?
Couple weeks.
Couple weeks?
I could reach out to Debbie LaPlaca and see if she recommends anything, because I know she was
Okay.
talking about her timeline based on the events coming up and the traffic
Right.
to Facebook. So maybe she has an idea of when that traffic will die down. And we can always try to get it timed where the results come in, and then we can discuss them at the next meeting.
Yes. I know, I don't know if someone mentioned it or not, but would we want to have some printed copies for people who might not be able to get on the internet or anything, to just, if they wanted to come here? Is that possible?
I would have to check with Hannah, because she has more SurveyMonkey experience than I do, but there might be a way where you can manually go in and take people's survey results and plug them in, so they're still compiled when you do the little results sheet that makes the graphs of responses.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure there's a way to view all responses in one viewing format.
But like printing a bunch and putting them on your counters, you're okay with that? Like, we have to put them somewhere for people to do a paper. I guess my question is
Accessibility reasons.
to make it accessible, is there opportunity to do just a paper survey?
I would think, but I'd have to check with Hannah and see if
Okay.
that's possible.
Right.
Well, if we could print the questions and solicit the responses, I'd be more than happy to help type them into,
Yeah.
SurveyMonkey, so.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I would help too, so,
Yeah, I can have them available in my window if
perfect. So we could say online, and I'm assuming the post will have a link, or available at the counter of the town administrator's office, whatever, yeah.
Yep.
I think that'd be nice.
Did we ask a question of a survey person around the area of, do they feel that their opinions or their voices are being heard at the government level?
There was a question up there?
Did we select that as
I
a
don't think
question?
so.
I don't think we did.
I think it would be important to try to craft something up with that question in mind.
Is it sort of similar to 7?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at, but
Well, just to reword it, not to say are there specific aspects,
Okay.
but simply, do you believe the current government structure works well
and your voice is heard?
and your voice is heard?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it would be good at this stage to, because then people, are looking for something to change, right?
Right. Bingo. Right, so that's 6.
That's 6,
That's plenty.
I think that's a great start.
acres half dozen.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's perfect.
So, if Deb, has the capacity to, wordsmith these, that would be great. And then getting an understanding of when needs to have the SurveyMonkey link and any timelines that she has. To address your point, I think, the drive is, from the Thanksgiving timeframe up until the tree lighting with Facebook. So I would think by mid-December, the majority of new eyes would have looked at that information. So I'd suggest that perhaps the second meeting in December or first meeting in January would be the appropriate time to review the responses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then we could give an update to the board.
After we get that, so
After we
shoot for
get
the
that.
second Board of Selectmen meeting in January, which might be budget time frame.
Yes, but we can have multiple agenda items. It breaks it up, it's not just budget.
Okay.
That'd be good.
You mean there's more things in the world than a budget? I wasn't aware.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just gonna ask that you, or someone officially makes a motion to vote to approve the list of questions for the survey, or take any other action relative thereto.
So move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
On to item F, addressing committee members' questions. Are there any other, we kind of handle the questions as we go along, so I don't know if there's any remaining ones.
From my perspective, the big one was, trying to make sure we hit or come close to the Board of Selectmen timelines and,
Yeah.
flags that they've kind of planted out there on the calendar. So the next one was an update to the Board of Selectmen, and then, so we just talked about, trying to provide that for that second meeting in December or first meeting in January would seem to make a lot of sense. Or the first meeting after we have
Right.
our meetings in that timeframe, to provide the Board of Selectmen. And, I think we're just gonna have to be honest, I doubt that there's gonna be an official draft report, available for February 1st, 2026, but certainly, that is a few months away, so it's certainly still possible.
If that's not possible, do you know why February 1st was chosen?
I believe, I'm gonna take my best guess here, that February 1st would have been chosen because it sort of coincides with where we start thinking about May town meeting.
Okay.
And we start thinking about the articles
That's-
and
okay.
action that's gonna be taken. That's when we really start getting into the nitty-gritty of budget season.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's my guess.
I'm trying to think, the structure of this report, and have we found out anything? Can we start formulating the report now? So I just throw that out there, because I just don't know. I don't know, like, how we would structure this report, what it should look like. I guess I could go into looking to some previous reports, but the ones I see are pretty elaborate, so I'm not
They
sure.
are.
Feel lengthy.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a little overwhelming to
Well,
think that we're gonna
yeah.
whip something to that level in a, couple weeks after we get data, if we go on this timeline.
My personal opinion is academically, I think we might, if we're doing a research paper. Right? We've all, I'm sure we all got lots of websites bookmarked, and we've got lots of content, and we could probably write up paragraphs, whatever. But we need to recommend, and we don't know whether anything we've discussed is popular or not, is feasible or not, is desired or not. That's what we need to determine, because I think we could recommend 10 different things. It could be entirely opposite of what anybody in this town wants. And then we will have just wasted our time.
Yeah, there could be 4 people in the town of Dudley that are in favor of our opinions, the 4 of us, and nobody else. I don't know that would go over well at town meeting, so.
So that's a good question. So,
We have we have each of our individual reports that we can summarize to just kind of give our thoughts on what we've done, but we haven't compiled an entire report. I don't know if that would work. Just take each one of our reports, summarize them into something that is short enough to, get the crux of what's needed, and then.
Again, I'm sorry to,
No.
the Board of Selectmen is our audience. They're the ones that are reading it. What do they want to read about? And then from there, we'll back up. Do we have the information to start communicating to that board what they really want to hear? What do they want, right? They want recommendations, right? I mean, that's, okay, a paragraph about what we did. Okay, this is, at the end of the day, I think if I'm a board person, I don't want to fall asleep, reading this report. I think, I think we give them an idea of like all the work we did, and that's what we can do right now, right? We can put that history together. This is what we did as a committee. We all did some topics. We touched on all the things that you asked us to do. We did the survey. I don't know, I'm thinking out loud to you guys, right? But I'm just trying to, the Board of Selectmen, how do you want to communicate to them and get them to the point where, at the end of the day, you want to get them to a point to make a decision. What is this decision that they're gonna make at the Board of Selectmen? Right? What are they're gonna decide to make special acts or changing to bylaws? I'm just, somebody who's more, about the governmental process here. what do we need to communicate to the board to make them take action on our recommendations? So we gotta kind of build that story, right?
So I think what you're talking about is exactly what they're looking for in December, which is an update. What has the committee done? What have you reviewed? So, providing that, short update in December, I don't think is problematic. I think there
Okay.
are really large issues still on the table that we haven't spent a lot of time on yet.
Yeah.
And I think, what we have to make clear is until we spend that time, we're not gonna be able to provide them with a draft of our potential recommendations for those larger topics that involve town meeting warrant articles, special legislation, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I say, I think the December update is perfectly feasible. I think hitting that February 1st timeline with a draft report covering these large questions that we haven't even touched yet in substantial fashion, is the one that's gonna be tough to hit.
So the December report, you feel just could be that quick summary?
Just a quick update. Here's where we stand. We've reviewed these topics and provided, short presentations on them. We've done the citizen survey. Our next steps are boom, boom, boom. As a result, we expect that, maybe sometime, for the first meeting in April, we're able to provide that draft report with, input from, taxpayers, employees here in town hall, et cetera.
So let's think about digging the timeline now on the digging down and getting into the next stage of the survey. Because I think we've got this one, we're in good shape. Surprisingly enough, we did good in the last couple of weeks, right? So-
Absolutely.
Right, guys? So now you gotta look at the next timeline schedule to get to the point where it gets us the information we need to make the
A
recommendations.
deadline would be good, we could do this forever,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
theoretically.
So there's a December and a February 1st? Is that what the other date was?
February 1st is when they wanted
They
the
want the
recommendations,
Yeah.
but
the report.
the draft, right?
Yeah.
I don't think February 1st is realistic.
Well, I mean, that puts us,
I mean, because we're only
I'm
gonna
just
get,
thinking about the public surveys. If we send them out in whatever rotation, they return with the information, we review, we determine what we want to do with that information. If we go through 2 or 3 rounds of this questioning, that's not that far away. So I don't know if that's possible.
yeah, that's, I think it's as,
Maybe it is. I just don't know if that's,
but we just in our minds have to be quick on the timeline to get the next round of questions out, right?
so we narrow it instead of, say 3 down to 2,
2 surveys.
maybe.
What, Olivia, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What, if we request more time from the Board of Selectmen, what do you
No.
think their feelings would be on that?
I can't read the minds
I
of my
know.
5 selectmen,
I know.
and I can't speak for them either. I think that February 1st deadline, as we discussed, was there because if any action had to be taken at the May town meeting, February is when we start thinking about that. And I know that we had discussed at a previous meeting of ours that what if we don't make that May town meeting deadline? Well, there's October special town meeting.
Right.
So I'm going to assume that the selectmen would rather have a well-done, thorough report than something pulled together that's not thorough, that doesn't properly get the voices of the residents incorporated just to meet the May town meeting deadline. So,
What about two times? What if we have some of these things signed, sealed, and delivered for May, but we do some of the other ones for the fall? Could we present 1 or 2 of them?
I think they're gonna be looking for a full report instead of fragmented.
Okay, yeah.
And I think it depends on what it is. I think if the thought process is, we should look at a charter, well, you're not gonna do a charter and then redo it 6 months later, and then redo it 6 months later, and then
No.
redo it 6 months. You're gonna do kit and caboodle. If you're looking at bylaw changes and special legislation and that avenue, then yes, I think you can approach it as a checklist type approach, you know, do this one, do this one. It may not be the ideal solution, but it's a potential solution, I would think. But again, I don't think we have enough information right now to gauge those next steps. I don't think we're gonna have that until we get these survey results back. And hopefully, you know, it's my sincere hope that there's a significant response so that we do get some clear thought process and input from the citizens as to, you know, where they want to see this ship steered to.
I'm just thinking out loud. There's there's technically 9, because I think Olivia, you're right. Number 1, effectiveness of current government is kind of answered by answering all the other ones. So if there are, let's just say there are 9 things here. What if every one of these requires some sort of a town meeting vote? Is that overwhelming in one meeting to do all 9? Or is it, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. 'Cause
I would just say it's what it is.
It's what it
If
is.
that's what the recommendations
Okay.
are, then that's
All
what
right.
it comes down to.
what if those 9 items are mixed in with another 43? And by the 43rd, everybody's just sick and tired.
Well, you know, the
I
Board
don't
of
know, it happens, right?
Yes, I don't know.
I think when we have our thought process and recommendations out there, the Board of Selectmen can then make those political decisions about
Okay.
how best and when best to, you know, do those presentations.
Just now defer this until
We're the
later?
think tank.
Okay, all
You
right.
just let the implementation happen to those guys, right?
Ultimately, it's the Board of Selectmen who decide what go on the warrant, right?
Yes.
Okay. With our,
Influence.
Let's
With our
find out
input,
what's
our-
needed. That's our job.
Okay.
We'll figure it out and then give it to them.
Yeah, I will say this, though, you know, in the dreary winter months, there may be a need for more frequent meetings, or, you know, more frequent work outside of the meeting.
Mhm.
I agree.
But
Yes,
I was thinking that, I was gonna bring that up.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, yeah. A weekly meeting would not be, you know,
Is that a possibility?
If we were to do a weekly meeting and you wanted to stick to Monday nights, you lose me at 6:30.
Right.
Because I have to, possibly even earlier, because I
Yeah,
have to, like, set up
that would be
and
too
stuff.
stressful for you.
Yeah,
I wouldn't wanna do that.
I would look to do, you know, a different day, you know, coordinate with Olivia's schedule that would,
Right.
you know, work for all of us and.
Let's discuss that. Let's make that an agenda item for our next meeting. Hopefully, we'll have more fuller attendance and we can kind of, I don't think that'll be, you know, I would think that'd be well received. Should we, it doesn't say when in December we need to respond or present to the board our status. Should we pick a meeting and get on the agenda for one of those meetings?
December 1st or December 15th for my selectmen's
the
meetings.
15th.
15th.
Okay.
We'll actually have 2 more meetings between now and then, so we might flesh out a lot of what we're discussing. Would we have results of the survey?
By the 15th, it's possible.
It's possible. That would be helpful.
You'll have results
Well-
as soon as somebody answers the survey.
Well,
The question is, will we be at 75% respondent
Yeah.
level?
Yeah.
Will we be at 100 respondent level, percent respondent level? But we will have some results by then.
right.
You know, so
That's
again,
what I meant,
yeah.
yes. Okay. All right, so we're gonna plan, as long as it's agreeable with the Board of Selectmen, to present our status at that meeting. Perfect. Okay. And before then, we'll discuss whether or not at that meeting we wish to possibly at least alert them that we may not make that February 1st deadline, or request an extension at that point.
We'll see where we are.
We'll see
Yeah,
where
with
we are.
2 more meetings, let's judge it
Okay.
and provide the most appropriate answer at the time.
Perfect. Sounds good to me.
We'll let you deliver that pill, okay?
What are they gonna do to me? They're gonna fire me? Okay. Perfect, so, I don't know, I tend to go over these agenda items in this meeting, is that appropriate, is that not appropriate, or is that okay?
What do you mean by
I
that?
mean, I'm just thinking about any other agenda items for next time. Does anybody have anything they think they want to add? We're gonna definitely discuss appointing a clerk, discussion of vacancies.
DPW.
We'll have the DPW. I'll present my findings. And discussion of, possibly extension of our deadline to the Board of Selectmen. That would be an item. Because,
Or you could wait until December 8th for that
okay,
one.
let's wait. Okay, we'll wait on that one.
I know that, Mr. Chairman, you had also mentioned talking about the timeline for the next few meetings and what you all hope to accomplish.
Yes.
And then maybe in that discussion, you can figure out if you do need to schedule additional meetings.
More frequently than the
Yes.
bi-weekly we have been. Okay. Do we have a schedule of meetings through December?
I believe it's through the end of the calendar year.
We did. Okay, yeah,
Yep, that would be December 8th and 22nd.
right. Week of Christmas. We all good?
Yes.
Okay, all right. If 4 or 5 of us were going to like Hawaii or Cancun or.
I am not.
Neither am I. Neither am I. Okay, good. So that sounds like a pretty full agenda for next time as well, especially with the DPW. I guess reading that DPW report might not be a bad idea, and being familiar with it so that we can either have a meaningful discussion with the people that actually affects.
Yeah, I would recommend everyone spend some time. I've gone through it, and
Mhm.
it's a professional study. There is a lot of good information in there. And again, Olivia, do you know if the persons who will be coming in, whether it be from water, sewer, highway, have they had an opportunity to put eyes on that study so they understand it?
I think they've all been aware of the study, but I can always resend it out to them in advance of the meeting.
Okay.
That might not be a bad idea. So we're all on the same page. Okay.
How important do you guys, folks, you know, the vacant, I'm just, seems like we got a lot of administrative things to do. The vacancies, get a clerk. Are we gonna, with everything else we have going on, are we gonna have appropriate time to discuss those admin-related items on the schedule of meetings that we have and effectively address why we're here? So and the only reason why I say that is, do we try to squeeze in another meeting somewhere to try to take care of some of these administrative type items? I just throw that out there. I mean, if we have to, I think we,
From my perspective, I'd rather spend an extra 15 minutes than include another evening before January 1st, at least.
okay,
I'll be honest with you, I think as long as, I mean, I know discussion can go certain ways, but if we spend 5 minutes on appointing a clerk, I think we spent 3 on appointing the whole board, the whole structure of the board the first time around, so.
Okay.
Or unless the discussion gets very heated, I mean, I don't see that taking very long. And as far as the vacancies go, I mean, we can limit the discussion on that too. I mean, we've got 6 people, and
okay,
it's pretty much just to poll the pleasure of the board to see whether or not they think we should pursue filling them, just so we have the alternates available.
yes.
But we've had I think for valid reason, we've had some absences. And I think there's a commitment from everyone to be here as often as possible, so.
Right.
Whether or not we fill any of those vacancies, we can debate that next time, but it can be brief, to
Okay,
your point.
all right, Fair
We'll
enough.
keep it brief.
all right, fair enough,
Yeah, okay,
all right?
perfect. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.